All right, here we are in part 2 of trying to diagnose the mystery noise in Tyler's 81 Monte Carlo. I called him up and I asked him exactly what he heard because I'm not seeing any signs in the rear end. He said he was driving home from work. He's got a little party store on the corner of his house. He turned into the parking lot of the party store and he heard a clunk. Like somebody was underneath the car with a hammer towards the front. He said he thought it was in the front suspension. So he got out, checked his lug nuts and stuff, shook his wheels, make sure nothing was broke in the front end, back out of the party store, and it was a straight shot to his house. And he said it seemed like every other rotation, it'd clunk, clunk. And he said it sounded like somebody was on his floorboard underneath his feet with a hammer. So I'm like, wow, okay, that's a little different because I'm not seeing anything in the rear end. So I called Tony up to have him come over after work tonight and check because I did see something inside the rear. I'm not sure what it is. I'll show you guys here in a second what I'm talking about. It almost looks like a cup that the outer spider gears that are next to the axle shaft that your axles slide through. It almost looks like a cup that the spider gear sits in, and it looks like it's split and spun, but I'm not sure what I'm looking at. You know, Tony's a specialist on drivetrains, trances, rear ends. That's what he does for a living. So, you know, I know spools and, you know, pause units and stuff like that, setting them up, but I've never seen one with a cup. Like I said, this is out of a Grand National, so I don't know what I'm looking at. So he said he would stop over. But he said that it could have broke a planetary in the transmission. That's why he was hearing the noise up front. So I said, well, just stop over and look at the rear end and tell me what I'm looking at to see if it's normal. And then if it's normal, I'll go ahead and put it back together. And we can bring the car to your shop and rip the trans and go through it, you know, and make sure that it didn't break a planetary. Because he said that sounds like what a planetary would do if it broke a tooth off or a couple teeth off. The tooth could have fell down and, you know, it's not doing it anymore. But so that's the plan. But I'm going to flip you guys around, get ready, and I'll show you on the rear end what I'm talking about. And then we'll wait for Mr. Martin to get here and see what he says, and we'll go from there. All right, hold tight. All right, we're back underneath the car here. I'm going to try and get you in here close as I can. You see right here where the screwdriver's at, there's a split, and it's got a lip there. And I don't know what that is. It looks like a shim or something. And if we spin the carrier over, see if I can do it with my foot here, to go to the other side, to where we can get a good look at this side. Slide my body over here. Hang with me, guys. You guys can actually see that same thing right here. And I don't know what that is. And you can see the marks here. It looks like whatever it is, it might have spun. So I'm not sure what I'm looking at there. So, like I said, I've never seen nothing. I've seen shims behind the spider gears, but that, you know, that's like a wall. It looked like something spun over top of the other one, but it gets paper thin. Let me see if I can roll this. See how thin it gets up top there? And then it gets thick again. You can actually see in there where it gets thin through here, and then it gets thick up top again. So I don't know what I'm looking at there. I don't know if that's normal or it spun a race, or I don't know. Like I said, we're going to wait for Tony to come. But everything feels smooth. But, you know, it is showing signs to me. Back this back up. You can see the wear marks on the inner part, right in here. It looked like something spun. So, I don't know. We might have to pull the carrier out, take the posi unit out of it, take the spider gears out and see what we're looking at. But before I do all that, I'm going to get Mr. Tony's opinion. Let me slide out of here. Before I start ripping the rear end apart. Whew. How hot is it in here? Jesus. I know it's rainy and only like 50 something outside. 51 outside, 73 in here. Holy crap, and that's all over here by the door. As you guys can see, it's rainy and shitty out. But that new setup I got in here with the thermostat hooked up, if it drops below 70, it'll kick this fan on and circulate. I tell you, it's kicking in here. It's hot. Too hot. All right, as you guys seen on the little time lapse there, we got the car jacked up and put on the ramps. That way all the oil is at the back of the pan instead of it all at the front of the pan. We're not going to starve the engine for oil if we fire it up. Next step I'm going to do while I'm waiting on him, I did end up going to the hardware store and getting some nylocks. Tyler ended up dropping me off a thing of posi lube. And I think I'm going to set you guys on the tripod and we're going to adjust these rear shocks, tighten them up, and get the shocks bolted back up. I got them both off right now, obviously. Bounce it like a ball, so I'll get all that situated, jack back up, and get the shocks tightened up while we're waiting on him. He should be here probably within the next half hour, 45 minutes, so I might as well keep pushing forward. I got the door cracked a little bit trying to let some cool air in here, man. It keeps rising, and then, I mean, I haven't put no wood in that wood stove in probably a good 45 minutes, and I got the dampener turned down, so, but it still hasn't kicked the fan on and circulated. This new system works good, but man, it's too hot. I meant to tame her down a little bit. All right, shocks are installed. We put new nylocks, new washers on the backside of the bracket, so they shouldn't come loose again. We got them slowed down on rebound and compression as much as they'll go, so that should help out a lot. This car squatted hard, you know, before. Like I said, we changed. He's got Moroso racing trick springs in here, so I don't think it's going to hurt the performance by stiffening up the shocks at all on it. The front end will still rise, and it should work out good. So, all right, there we go. Another thing off the checklist. Alrighty, well, 10 days later, we're back out here on Ty's Monte Carlo. We're going to try and get this thing buttoned up here. We had to take off and go down to our hometown of Port Huron for a family emergency, which few people on here that follows us on Facebook knows what's going on, but I'm not going to get into all that right now. But as you guys can see, we got the rear tires off of the Monte Carlo. I went through and checked all the rear brakes, all the nuts, the bolts. There's nothing rubbing in there between the bracketry and the rotor. So he's all good to go on that side and that side, so he's good to go. Tony did stop over. I didn't get it on camera. It was later than he had to stay at work a little longer than expected. And I already went in the house for the night, but I came back out when he did show up, and I didn't film it. But I had him look at it, and what we're seeing in that rear end, he thinks is part of the clutch package, which is normal. He said the rear end in there looks perfect. Go ahead and put it back together. He wants us to get the rear end put back together and take the car over to his shop and they're gonna drop the trans and see if it broke a planetary or something along those lines. He said that's probably what it is. Why it's not making noise when we loaded it on the trailer and off of the trailer, I don't know. But that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to get the rear tires. I actually got a set of street tires back here. Some front ones buried way down here. It's always got to be the bottom two, right? They're actually street tires. These two are just, that's a spare. It has no wheel on it. And these tires here, they go flat. That's what I used to roll around on the Blazer. But I got to dig them two out on the bottom there. And we'll get them stuck on the back. Get the cover bolted back up. And I still might fire this up on the jack stands and run it through the gear. Just to make sure that we don't hear anything. And maybe I can pinpoint where. Tony said it's hard to pinpoint, you know, where it's at due to a hollow drive shaft. You know, the sound will carry from the transmission through the drive shaft into the rear end. So it's definitely not in the rear end. So that's awesome. We got the Cooper Cobra Radial GTs dug out. Like I said, it always seems to be the very bottom tire, the ones that you need. Can't keep a clean shop around here, I tell you. Every time I try organizing something, this ends up happening. I need the bottom of something that's at the very bottom of the pile, or anyway. We got a skim coat of RTV just on the cover because it shows little signs of leaking. I didn't put a lot, so we're gonna go ahead and get that put on and get this thing filled up, and then we'll get the tires put on, and I think we'll fire this thing up and see how it sounds in gear. And if it sounds okay, on to the next step. I'm going to set you guys on the tripod, though. I'm sure everybody out here, a few of you probably don't know, on these rear end covers with the back bracing. I'll show you guys how to set that stuff up. That sets on your caps, your carrier caps, to help flex on the rear end. Another nice aftermarket part, but I ended up cleaning the back side up for him too because it was nasty. So there goes a can of brake clean. But luckily, he brought us a can. Oh, where can I set this? Where it's not in my way. And of course, my glasses are fogging up again. All right. Stick him up here like that. Why is he going through there? There you go. We'll just get ones. We'll get them started, and then we'll run them in with the. Make sure that they're going to start good and we don't thread anything. Always make sure your washers are on there too, guys. I had to go buy a funnel that's got the curve, so hopefully we're going to be able to fill this rear end. First time I've ever seen a city bus out here dropping somebody off. Weird. Yeah, these covers, it's got the back brace. It helps the rear end, the carrier, from flexing on hard launches and stuff, which is pretty neat. That's pretty neat. We have the same cover set up on ours, but I think we got the what is it? Mosier. We got the Mosier cover. This is a TA cover here. Nice thick aluminum. I'm sure they all do the same thing. One just costs more than the other one. my drill. We actually got some nice weather. Last couple days, it's been in the 70s. Hey, back my socket. We'll get them all snugged up, and then we'll obviously take a ratchet and go through and do the final. Come on, give it back. Yeah, I knew that one was going to be like that. Not a lot of room on these top ones. So we'll have to get them ones with the ratchet, but they're... I'm sure glad it wasn't the rear end in this. So I think the rear end would be more expensive to rebuild than the trans. Don't get me wrong, trances ain't cheap either, but we got a pretty good connection, and Tony's usually pretty fair with us when it comes to trannies. So put the drain plug back in. We'll start up top since come over to this one. So this one was the next one. Come down here. Yeah, you don't need a ton of silicone. Oh, I forgot one. Figures. I guess we'll have to do this one manually. This two bottom ones snugged up. There goes my light. Come over to this side. Snug him. We'll jump over here. We'll snug him. And we'll start working our way all the way around. Ugh. Torque specs, right on the verge of snapping your Allen tool off is sufficient. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't look them up. We're not putting them on with the impact, but we're putting a little bit of force on them just to make sure that it seals up. Where's it? Should have been it. The gasket was in still pretty good shape too, so. Did we get this one? Yep. All right, good enough. Good enough for the girls we date. All right, next step, we're gonna set our back brace. What I usually do, I'll run them in until they touch the caps. And then give them one good unka-dunka. That should be it. You don't want to over tighten them. But then again, like I said, I run them down until they're just snug, touching the rear end, the carrier caps. And usually about a half turn is what I get out of them. And go through and tighten up your locking nuts. Make sure everything's nice and tight on these. Don't need these backing out. There we go. All right, next step we're gonna do is run this gear lube 1 quart at a time through a paint strainer to make sure that we don't get no fun garbage in there. Which this process is probably going to take forever, because good old gear lube the old 80-90 weight, nice and thick. Alrighty, rear end is full. Everything, I put thread tape on the filler plug and the drain plug, so we're good to go there. I got the shocks all set. I tightened up the rebound and the compression to the tightest they would go on both sides, so he's good to go there. I tried to put the street tires on here, but as you guys can see, these marks right here, they're hitting this caliper. My front tires, or my front rallies, the offset must be different. They're not a, they're a 7-inch wheel, I take it. I got my 8s over there with a 4.5-inch back spacing, which would probably work. But I'm not gonna put my brand new street tires on here for him to burn off. So I called him up and told him. He said he would drop off his street tires on the way to work one of these mornings. So what I did, I ended up just putting a couple lug nuts on to lock the rotor in place. That way it's centered in the caliper there. That way it's not flopping around on both sides. So the only thing left to do now is just fire it up and stick it in gear and pray we don't hear nothing. So I'm going to set you guys down on the ground. We're going to fire this up and let it warm up for a second. And then we're just going to put her in drive and see what happens. All right, here we go. Set you guys down here. Should be a good angle. I could actually, when I stuck my hand on that cover, I could feel something. Now, is that the transmission carrying through? Something in there? I don't hear nothing clunking, though. Maybe it's not until we put a load on the car. I don't know. I'm going to get the tires put back on it, and maybe we'll take a first spin up the road and get the weight of the car on it. And either way, we got to get it over to Tony soon. So I'll bring you guys right back. All right. Well, I called Tony up, and I'm going to have him stop over when he goes home for lunch. And I'm going to fire it up for him and let him feel that cover. And he says you're going to feel a little something due to the cover, that kind of cover being the back brace onto them caps. He said you're going to feel, you know, a little something. But I just want to be 100% sure on this rear end. You know, we know that we're not seeing nothing physically. We couldn't turn the axles to get the spider gears in a different spot. You know, they were locked into place to where they were at. So I'm not putting his big tires back on. Ty is going to drop off his street tires one of these mornings on his way to work, he said. I got Tony coming over. I'm going to fire the car up and have him feel it. And then he said that if it is in the trance, it's going to carry too, he said. So we'll give you guys an update on what comes on next. But as of now, that's probably going to wrap this video up for the Monte Carlo. We'll give you guys updates on what we find. I don't think it's in the rear end. It's probably something in the trance. You know, like Tony said, you know, we're dealing with 40 to 50-year-old transmissions when we're, you know, messing with these 350 turbos, Power Glides, and 400 turbos. They're old, you know. They don't put them in anything anymore. So parts failures happens all the time. Even though this is a new transmission, it's nothing to do with Tony and his the way it was assembled. Shit happens. It is what it is. And like I told him, it's no big deal. We just want to get it, you know, find the problem and get it fixed. So, like I said, I'll give you guys updates as we go. I'm going to wait for him to come home for lunch and I'll let him put his hand on this rear end and see. But until then, guys, as usual, I really appreciate everybody for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, and we'll catch you guys on the next video. All right. Bye-bye.